Good
evening.
We're on.
Redevelopment Agency meeting of April 2017. I'll call the meeting to order as we have a quorum. First item is invocation. I see no ministers, so please let's have a moment of silence. Join me in the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item is the approval of minutes from March 14th, 2017, the Community Redevelopment Agency. Please.
I'll move to approve the minutes from the CRA meeting of March 14th, 2017.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, like sign. Passes unanimously. Special recognition and presentations, we have none. Old business, we have none. New business, City Manager.
Based on the March 2017 CRA meeting, staff is proposing to draft the FY18 CRA budget with the continuation of Trail Town, Vibrant Community Initiatives, Community Policing, Commercial Beautification Grant, and Structural Rehabilitation Program goals, and the checklist items from the Trail Town's Capturing Trail Town-Based Tourism booklet in mind. Basing the proposed budget on preliminary revenue estimates with no increase from FY17, it's estimated that there will be approximately $350,000 available for capital project and increased maintenance in FY18. We'll have a presentation, but the list of projects and actions are recommended to be programmed in FY18's budget is to continue to transform the downtown city, historic downtown district, into a trail town. Due to additional maintenance requirements brought on by the construction of the Welcome Center, the accepted ownership of the Pritchard House, the installation of hanging baskets, the courtyard renovations, including sales structures, additional trash generated by increased people and traffic in the downtown area, staff is proposing that we fund a facilities maintenance person dedicated to handling these downtown issues to protect the CRA's investment, with an additional $50,000 added to repair and maintenance services to account within the CRA operating budget. The final amount of the cost of the additional maintenance employee will be calculated, and a breakdown recommended from the projects will be presented by Mr. Ford. We're at a point right now in the CRA where we've put a lot of money and a lot of investments into making the downtown look vibrant. You've seen, we just finished replanting all the US 1 and Hopkins area. And when you take a tour of the downtown area, there's a lot of things we can do to maintain it better. We believe we need to start pressure washing the sidewalks periodically. We need to, once we get the sales structures in, that area will be we view that as an area that will have a lot of people in it, so there'll be a lot more trash and things generated. The planters will be needed to be watered during certain times of the year, replanted during certain times of the year. Plus, we'd like to have the personal touch of somebody that is the dedicated maintenance personnel that the merchants in the downtown area can go to should they have challenges with maintenance in the downtown district. And with that, we'll have Mr. Ford present the proposed budget presentation for the CRA board.
All right. Okay, the budget process. The current presentation is to obtain your direction for the FY18 budget, and it will be included as part of the city's overall budget. The information is provided, as was mentioned, based on a very rough preliminary revenue estimate with no change in the TIF. I think that there will be probably a little bit of an increase. So once we learn that, that will be brought back to you all. We'll bring back the preliminary budget back in May again, once we have, based on your direction tonight, and better budget data. And the Just let you know that we have operating, debt service, and capital expenses, and the capital expenses are often multi-year projects. Our estimated revenues, as stated, we're right now conservatively going with the same as we received last year for our tax increment. Debt service is relatively the same as it was the previous year. Operating expenses, for the most part, will be the same with the exception of maintenance activities, with the increase of $50,000 for that additional person in the downtown to maintain that the city manager talked about. The summary snapshot showing our revenues minus the debt minus the operating, that's leaving us approximately $300,000 for projects in the downtown. And then the projects, continuing the trail, bicycle, city amenities in the downtown, including such things as, a lot of small amenities, trail counter, so we can keep track of the people on the trails and keep metrics, bike rests, wayfinding, additional signage to get people to the parks in the downtown, bike racks, etc. Approximately $25,000. The commercial interior grants, which we're receiving a lot of interest on, will remain the same as we had for the past year. Continuing the concrete street repair in the historic residential area, and then a viewing platform or some kind of structure at the Scobie Park, which is the Main Street and Indian River Avenue, the green space down there. And again, depending on additional TIF from increased property values and carryover funds from FY17, we'll bring some additional projects back to you, such as maybe a trail gateway moment that lets people using the trail know that they're coming into the downtown. Courtyard tables and chairs and some other items. And so with that, any questions or discussion you may have on that direction?
Member Nelson?
Tim, I did have a question. The planters, the hanging planters, I noticed that they don't have water going into them. Would the maintenance person be responsible for that also?
Yes, ma'am. Right now, it's under a contract for the first 60 days to have the plants catch.
Okay.
And once the 60-day contract is over, then that's what we envision the maintenance personnel doing the watering as necessary.
Okay.
We're looking at the city purchasing a vehicle that we can put the watering unit in so that they can drive. It's like a little gator that he can drive the vehicle around.
Okay. I just hated to see them all die after we put them up.
Yeah, they're being watered now.
Okay.
Member Diesel?
Not really a question, just an endorsement of the fact that we've done a lot of great things. You guys have done a lot of great things. CRA has done a lot of great things, but maintaining them. Sometimes we see cities, schools, et cetera, do a lot of great things, and then they just expect them to last without the maintenance for years to come. So I think that's a really good move. At this point, let's continue to maintain what we have. Just an endorsement.
I have a question. I didn't see the sail shades in there. Is that in part of this or carryover from
Last year's budget, sir.
last year? Okay.
This is the proposed 18 budget that we're building that will go through the budget hearing process later on this summer.
Right. I thought there might be there. But, Member Leedy?
I guess, is there anything on this list that didn't make the list? Because of the money constraints?
As we mentioned, the gateway moment, tables and chairs in the courtyards, those kinds of things were things that we had on the list. Let's see, it's 16. There was the possibility of looking at business block signs that you see in Sanford and in downtown Melbourne, but those are quite expensive, so those were cut back, and something we can look at in the future. So,
Well, like I mentioned at the meeting, I don't know how you want this done or how the chair wants to handle this, but are you expecting us to take this as a package or talk about each individual item as we go? I mean, there are most of them that I totally support and some I don't, and like to see money go elsewhere, so.
I'd suggest you tell us which items you have issue with.
Well, I'm like, I think what's been said about the maintenance, I think that's a great idea. I'm okay with the trail. I guess the one I'm not, until I see it and want to spend the money, is the viewing platform. That's a lot of money, and I would like to see maybe more things we still could be doing downtown or down in the main area. So, not that I'm against it, but I wouldn't want to say tonight that the rest I probably would be fine with. I mean,
Will we see a design on that before it's done?
That's part of the funding, is to do the design itself. It's a
Yeah,
very small
see-
property, but it's a very photo opportunity place where people, that's the first time they see the water as they're coming down Main Street and/or Indian River. So we'd like to capture that. We do have a living shoreline project for that property as well, and a baffle box that's going in there. So we think it's an area that we could accentuate the beauty of our downtown with that.
So that, this money is for the design of it?
Part of the money, yes, sir.
the design's $125,000?
Part of the design, part of the 125 involves the design package,
Right.
yes, sir.
Well, here again, I mean, I don't know if you can take that one out and we can discuss it at, I mean, I don't want to say to all of them, if I vote no, that means I'm saying no to all of it, but I will vote no because of that one item's in there. I don't recommend we doing that right now. I mean, I believe that we need more, possibly discussing more grant programs. I've met with Tim, there's plenty coming. I'd like to see more downtown and finish that off instead of going off and spending, I just think $125,000 on,
I would say, Kurt, that the grants, the possibility of grants are something we will look at constantly. We are looking at it constantly.
no, we're allocating $100,000 and I'd like to see that more, so,
That's not the point I was making.
okay.
You were talking about grants. We do those all the time, so they're really not part of this or
I think,
Something for approval.
Mr. Chairman, it says interior renovation grants, $100,000. I would like to see that maybe be $150,000, $175,000 instead of spending $125,000 on
Well,
a platform.
this is the time for you to say those
That's
things.
what I'm saying.
Okay, well, you're saying that particular grant, I thought you meant getting grants.
No,
We're
I'm saying
constantly
adding
looking for
to.
grants. Okay, I get your point, and you've made it. Anything else? Sir?
No, thank you.
Member Nelson?
Okay, so question, how much money is it going to cost to get a plan for the viewing platform? And what's the time frame?
Usually you're looking at 10% for design cost. I mean, we've budgeted $125,000. It may not cost that much. It all depends on the designs that come in. It could be as small as a covered bench with a platform around it so that people's feet aren't, that they're,
And the
we're
dirt?
protecting the stormwater retention area. So
How long would it take to get a plan?
We'll have to bid it, and then
So,
it'll probably be 6-7 months.
well, we do have a design company on continuing design firm with Public Works. I forget their new name. It used to be Bellissimo. Bellomo. I'm sorry. Yes, Bellomo. They might be able to do some design.
So could we do that and then come back and have further discussion on, do we want to do a platform structure versus additional grants?
Correct. And also once we get our valuations coming in, which we don't get the really good one until the end of June. I think the 1st of July, but May you get some preliminary counts. Then we'll have a better idea as to whether we'll have additional funds that could go to additional grant money for interior or for facades.
So I would suggest that we go ahead and get a design and bring this back before council at that point, when you have that design and have an idea of the cost.
Yes, and ma'am, this is for next budget year, so this is after
Correct.
October. Okay,
So it's not anything we have to decide
right.
this month.
Yes, ma'am.
So we can hold that item in abeyance then? We can hold that particular item in abeyance. We can go ahead with the design part of it, and then at a later time, look at that
Yes, sir.
item more closely
You
with
bet.
the information. That's fine. Sounds good. Anything? Vice Chairman?
Thank you. For Member Leedy, so first, personally, as is right now, as delineated, I'm comfortable with expenditures. I think a viewing platform, it falls in line with the trail town concept, and it builds on that cost. I think we definitively go over costs during whatever the process might be. So I think there'll be some time to hash that out. But if the idea would be to look over, if you would like more time to look things over as far as projects, what I don't want to do is move forward on a budget if you need more time. On the other hand, if it's that single item, I'm okay with it as it is. So I kind of leave that to you. But what I want to make sure is that the decision, whatever decision you're arriving at, you feel confident, informed, and you've had time to review that. And if the platform is kind of, you just need some more time to research that. I get that. So.
Number 7, Member Leedy.
To answer the two comments, I'm not saying if this, then that. What I'm saying is, of the items that are on this list, I could support them all except the viewing platform in relationship to, and your comments might solve that, and that is I've sat up here for years. We have a parking problem. Can that money be used to lease property for parking? Is there better expenditures? I think the public would rather have tables and chairs than a viewing platform. I'm making a judgment there. Is there better ways of spending $125,000? Not just putting it into grants, but other ways that we have not yet talked about. That's why I asked staff, is there something else on the list that hasn't made it and that we haven't thought of? I know that in the agenda coming up next is the parking lot that we're going to talk about. Well, we got to pave it probably. We've got to stripe it. So I think that money's better spent than, that's my point. It's not that specific, put the money into grants, but is there other places that $125,000 can be spent?
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I think what I'm hearing is what we just said a little while ago. It's to hold that item, go ahead with the design work, get some more information on it, and we'll look at that at a later date.
Yes, sir. I just want to make sure you understand that when you say go ahead and do the design work, that's going to be after October, after the budget's approved. So if you want us to do a budget item for only the design, that could be part of it. And then do additional funding for what Mr. Leedy suggested, chairs or something else. We could come back to you with the remainder of that money and just do the design.
So that would accelerate the process by doing that, right?
Yeah, not really.
Then what have we gained? I'll leave it up to council to make a motion. I'm sorry, there's still lights. Member Diesel.
First of all, I go back to saying I'm pleased with the attack on the maintenance. I think that's important, but I also hear up here sometimes that we don't do enough big stuff. And I think there's a perfect mix here of maintenance and then something that is eye-catching, that is, we're trying to become more tourist-friendly. Clearly, we don't, most of our residents perhaps, on a daily basis aren't going to necessarily need that viewing. They've seen the river. But we are looking to expand in possible hotels and a possible tourist site. I think that's a step in the right direction. I think that's a vision. However, I do want a clarification on the $125,000. That's not a set rate. That's something that you have put out there to budget for this item, but you don't know that it's going to cost that much at this time and it won't cost more.
That's correct, sir. We don't know. We're just guessing.
I want to add something, a comment on your comment there, that yes, we expect a lot more tourism. We got a lot more flights going up next year, and that's one of the best places to look at it. But people do go out there and their feet are in the water or on some lucky land there. So I think it's a good item to do at this point. But who's next? I have Vice Mayor Barringer is next.
Thank you. And
Vice Chairman.
I think just for clarity, I'm comfortable with as presented. At the end of the day, what it does is it gives us an opportunity for next year to do it. It's going to come before council or before the CRA at least twice, because it's going to be a design option and it's going to be approval for it. There's plenty of time to, if that is not a direction we want to go, there's not support, then we can do that. But what I believe that this does, it just allows staff the opportunity to at least go out, move forward, and plan on and attempt to implement. But if there was some reason where there was a significant change in direction, then I think that there's enough control points along the way where you could prioritize another project if the CRA felt appropriate to. So I'm good for it as is.
Thank you. Member Nelson.
Okay, I understand that part. My question is, we're talking about looking at potentially leasing the railroad property, correct?
That's the next project.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Next agenda item.
So we're going to need money for that. Do we have money in the budget for that?
Yes, ma'am. We can discuss that at the next meeting, but at the next agenda item. But what we're asking for is advisability to negotiate with the East Coast Florida Railroad to find out what they want for that. And we'll proceed with that.
So if we go forward with the preliminary budget advisability, and at some point we need the money for the railroad, then we can swap things around.
What we're after in the next agenda item is, if you ask us to go forward with this proposal to go negotiate, we will have that dollar amount to go into the 18 budget.
Okay. Got it.
Any other discussion? Not hearing any, I think we should take a vote on this. Does anybody have a motion?
Make a motion. I move to approve as written.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say yes? Yes. All those opposed? No. One dissension. Passes. Thank you. Our next item is City Manager, Railroad Station Property.
Yes, sir. Agenda item 8B, provide advisability regarding entering into discussions with Florida East Coast FEC Railroad to negotiate a lease of all or portions of the Titusville Railroad Station property located at Pine Street and Crofton Avenue. FTC Railroad Station property with its paved parking lot has been vacant for a number of years. The property's location a block off of the coast-to-coast trail and within the CRA's goal of providing additional parking in the downtown. Staff is requesting advisability from the CRA to gauge board's interest in discussing with FEC the potential to lease all of the parking lot or portions of the parking lot, and photos are in your packet.
Any discussion on this item? Vice Chairman?
Thank you. So I'd be happy to go talk to them and see what deal is potentially out there. And whether it be improvement to the parking lot or we lease it for $1. I mean, to bring it back to whatever it might be, I would be happy to do that. The only, I just, the caveat that I put out there is when we went in discussion of routing bike trails and parking is a finicky thing because that thing is a block off, 2 blocks away. And that 2 blocks away, even though it's 2 blocks, could be viewed as it's a mile away. And I think that when we look at kind of Broad Street, that, there's a lot of parking on Broad Street, but that was in no way going to be okay with the service to the downtown area. And that's just where we're at. And so I'd be happy to go look at it, but and it makes all the sense in the world, but I just want to make sure that we don't stop looking for parking options.
Yeah, we view this as a temporary measure until we get the parking study back, which will provide direction on, what kind of facilities we need to pursue in the future.
Thank you.
Member Leedy?
Can you share what we were talking about, the cost?
We'd like to allow the CRA board to allow us to enter into negotiations with that.
And at the cost we were talking about?
I'd prefer not to discuss those costs
I mean,
yet.
you need to see this, but it's a no-brainer. This is an absolute no-brainer in my opinion. And like I said, I'm all over supporting this. I understand we had talked about that there might be some people thinking 1 block is a long way to walk in Titusville. But you're close, not only for the city, it's close to the courthouse. There's all sorts of good reasons to have this, especially for the cost. And not only cleans that up, but again, I'm all supportive of you having the authority to go do that.
Thank you, sir. Member Christie, Anderson, probably.
Yeah, when I had my meeting, my big thing was, one of the deals was this was going to be great for this overflow for this theater, and at 10:30 at night, walking a block, 2 blocks out to your parking, that's going to be the big thing for me. So even if it's a great deal, if we don't have lighting, path lighting all the way there so you feel comfortable going, and a very well-lit parking lot, it's going to be a scary thing for me. So it wouldn't be my first choice. I understand we're not making any more land, and that makes it difficult. But I want to go forward with this and see see what we've got, because I'd love to see it cleaned up. Because it is a wreck. It looks terrible over there. But as we're looking at that, I really want to look at the safety issues and making sure, not only whether or not that you don't know who's out there, but also the pathway through the sidewalks. The sidewalks are going to have to be looked at because they're not in great shape all the way back through there. And little old ladies like me don't want to get tripped out at 10:30 at night. So that would be my only thing, is that would be part of the picture, is in looking at the upgrades that we're going to have to do. So that was it.
And I understand what you're saying, but I do want to say we don't know what we're looking for it to be used as. It could be people come into town, this is just something that I was thinking about, with their vehicles and their bicycles on their roofs, and I've seen that over in Winter Garden, and that could be a long-term parking thing for cars. We're talking about a parking garage, but we're not sure how long that will take, so that piece of property would be very adequate for that, because they get on their bicycle and go downtown.
Do we have a clue or a guess as to how many parking spaces we'd be looking at?
It'll be between 50 and 60, depending how you stripe it out. I mean, just doing an aerial and doing 10-foot stalls, it comes out to 60 parking spaces.
Okay, thank you.
The basic thing now is we don't know how much they're asking for, or how much, if it's very low price, it might be very attractive. If it's a high price, it won't be until we get that information. We don't know.
Well, I'm with Vice Chair Behringer. I think $1 a year is a good deal.
I think that's a great deal. Maybe we could get them to pay us.
All right, okay, that looks good.
No. That's a great price, and I would hope they get that, but I don't know if that's realistic. I did have some negotiations in a different life with them. They're not easy to deal with, FEC. So, do you have enough instruction on this? All right, thank you, sir. Next item.
Mr. Mayor, can I add one more thing to that? Sure. That I wanted to bring up to the group. The previous CRA and my meeting with the executive director and Mr. Ford, I asked this, and I hope we could just give them a little bit of encouragement on this also, that I believe there was unanimous with the previous CRA board when we talked about, I remember Member Long and the mayor before, and that is during events, and I'm thinking about that with this parking lot, handicap parking. And I don't think we've done anything on that yet. And I would encourage the staff to see what we can do, especially on events, that we can bring out temporary ones, maybe put them more by the visitor center if we had this facility, because that's the biggest complaint I hear. And I remember we were all in agreement to instruct staff to see what we can do on that, and I hope that you guys are with that on this one too.
I think that's a very good suggestion, to take a look at what we can do. Okay, anything else, sir? Nope. All right. Petitions and requests, ladies? No? Okay. Executive Director's Report.
It's just information items on our capital projects update and ongoing projects subject to your questions. It completes my update to the board.
Any questions or further discussion? If not, we have, anyone? I'm sorry. Yes, no?
I've got a good for the order.
Push a button. Oh, that works. Member Leedy.
I'll probably try to keep harping on this each month, but I'd like to see us instruct the staff to see not necessarily the availability, but the advisability of either the city, the CRA, and I know there's discussions possibly at the county, and that is looking at buying the property between the marina and Sandpoint. That's tough to get your arms around right now, but it's a vision that I'm trying to push, and it seems to me it's private ownership and tying those two public properties together into one full piece of property would be something 10, 20 years from now, we would be very happy that we did that.
I'm not sure, I'm not clear on which piece of property. You mean the other?
Where West Marina is.
Where what?
Where West Marine and the boatyard is.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
yeah, I was a little confused on that too.
And then we would have the public property from Sandpoint all the way to the ball fields. I'm not saying we're going to do it, but I would like to just see if the staff can show us what's there, who owns it, because I've had some discussions with people that I think that actually it's under contract, but that the property can be purchased. And I put this to you also, you guys, and I've seen this 12 years ago, and that is private owner can build whatever your zoning allows right now. And I believe that's condos, and I believe that anything they want there. They can put another boatyard there. And is that something we want between two public pieces of property? So I don't know what I'm asking you, other than if you agree with, say, staff, take a look at this. Next meeting, show us where the property is, who owns it, how much is available, how big it is, what restrictions are on it, if any, and then just have a discussion about it.
I don't see why not. And the question really isn't if we can buy it, it's how much is it to buy
Well,
it?
that,
So-
we could buy it, but that's right. How much is it? And
I think we can probably, if there's a contract on it, and then we may have a realistic arm's length price on it. So if you can find out that information, that would be helpful. You may not be able to, but sometimes people will tell you.
well, yeah, not so much, I'd say to the staff, not so much the price, but just kind of the plat map and what's on there and what's it zoned, what's allowed to be built. if
I
there's
can
a-
give you some information on that because it was already sold some years back, and it was sold as a marina condo
Okay.
project, which is probably the highest, best use for that property.
Might
So
be.
That's who you're going to be up against price. And I'll repeat, I think the price is the issue.
Might be.
So we're still back to if you
But
can find
the
anything.
zoning, what can be built, those kinds of things that Walt's talking about, just to have a discussion about it. Say we looked at it at least.
Vice Chairman Barringer.
Thank you. I will share with you, I have no desire whatsoever to do it. And I don't mean that negative, I mean it respectfully. And the reason is that if I would be more convinced if there's a petition out there and folks were coming, I would be happy to look at it. But I'm leery of purchasing, and I get the intent. I believe I get the intent, but I'm leery in opening up conversations, and the reason is for twofold. Number one, I think that the moment that we say the city's looking at property on the river, if there are other opportunities in the city, our price is going up unless we're really serious about getting a piece of property. I think when we start, I'm just saying, out of curiosity, all of a sudden somebody finds that we're curious, I think the price is going to go up in other opportunities where there may be. The second part is I am of the opinion at this point, I don't think that we get as much as we can out of the property we got. So there are still parcels that the city owns that there's plenty of opportunity to do something with, and Scovey Park is a great example. We got a piece of property. What are we going to do with it? You know, and that's all I'm at. So I get the opportunity for continuity, and that may be opportunistic because of the time. But I just, as an overall general right now, I have no desire to start poking around on what property is available to purchase. And that is not in agreement with, I think, with our past referendums on property on the lake, on the river.
I don't know what that last part meant.
Can I
but,
respond to it?
Punch a button. Yes.
Matt, it's not just a piece of property. And my vision on this thing, and I talked with the city manager about this, is that I have years of experience up in Seattle, and which, quote, is one of the boating capitals of the world. People go that I boated up here and pretty much bypass Titusville. You've had the vision on the trail town. My vision is putting something on that land, if the city owned it, that would attract boaters. And they spend money too. It's not like it's a piece of property in the middle of Titusville. And so I'm just suggesting, no matter when a city's looking at property, the price goes up. I was here, as was Walt, when we bought the property on Harrison and US 1. And there was tons of us out in that audience saying, don't do it, city. And they've got millions for it, and we're probably so far underwater, it's incredible. But I'm just saying, if there's an opportunity, again, no matter when the city says we're looking at something, everyone knows the price is going to go up and something like that. But a vision of what I'm kind of trying to sell here is the trail town, but also the boating idea. And that's a logical place for that. And you're looking at restaurants, music, things that boaters like when they come into a port. Stay, spend some money, move up the river. So that's the only reason I'm throwing that out.
Anything
Thank
else?
you.
Sure. Member Anderson?
I hear what you're saying, but we already have that in that particular location. You've got the dry dock, and if memory serves me, that was one of the bones of contention of having somebody buy that and tear it down and put condos, because there's a large gap between places to be able to bring your boat in and have it pulled out of the water if you've got an issue. And my memory isn't as good as it used to be, but I don't necessarily want to have us buy that piece of property at this point. I'm sort of like Member Behringer. I don't think that it would be something that, I think it's kind of a white elephant type of thing, because we don't really have any big plans for that. We've got the event center, civic center, whatever you want to call that. That's sitting on the back burner percolating. We're trying to get that thing up and running. And I don't know that that's going to give us what we need. I would also wonder with the boaters that are there, do they utilize that facility now? Are we going to be trying to pull something away from them? So, and I don't know that the city needs to go into boat repair business. And that's what we'd end up doing if you're talking about having the dry dock or being able to service things for boaters. So I wouldn't be in favor of it. You'd have to really talk me into that one.
Member Nelson?
Somewhere in Ms. Busaka's closet, there were some plans from probably 20 years ago. And it included that marina and condos. And it was beautiful, beautiful vision. And I believe Ms. Anderson is correct. That's what happened, was people were upset because that was the only marina where you could pull a boat out and actually work on it. So it might be worth looking at, but on the other hand, I think you're going to get some pushback thinking about it. Big time from those boaters who want to be able to work on their boats. So as beautiful as that vision was.
Please. Member Diesel?
Yeah, and I'm all about visions. I think it's great. You got to have a vision and have a dream, and I certainly commend you for that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I tend to be more inclined to, if that's a vision or a dream that would take off, I like the private sector aspect of that as opposed to the city spending that. And I know it's just a looking into, but we've talked about a lot of things tonight, including the need for money and parking and those sort of things. I'd be more inclined to shuffle it over to parking than to put it into that one. I think if that's a go area over there, I don't think you're going to have a problem with private sector investing in that, and I'd like us to stay out of that.
I don't see any more lights. The only reason I would support looking at trying to find a price it would be they're looking at or putting it on the market for is that I think it will solve all of your questions very quickly, because that's going to be a very expensive piece of property. But what's your pleasure? Does somebody want to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, before you vote, I just wanted to clarify that the current city municipal marina is occupied at 100% right now, with a waiting list of boats over 30 feet. So the marina has recovered, and we've done quite a few improvements to the marina over the past year and a half.
You've done an excellent job on it. In this piece of property, I think we've heard several reasons for looking at it, not all of them the same. But again, what's your pleasure?
I don't know if you guys need a motion or not, just ask the staff to, like I said, come back to us in a month.
Well, it's not clear everybody wants to do that. I don't know how many people don't want to do it.
Come back with anything?
Say-
Yes, sir. We'll need board consensus on this. This is a project that you're asking us to do.
Yes,
It's a little
correct.
bit beyond the scope of a normal 2 hours.
Oh, then I'd make a motion. Make a motion for staff, instruct staff to come back at the next meeting, just show us what the property is it available, how much they think it's worth, if they can find the price, and that's all we need to do right now.
I have a second for that.
I'll do a second. I don't think that would hurt at all, just to have the information.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Member Leedy, was that you? Okay. Member Diesel? You're on now.
Does staff see any issue with simply coming up with that information?
No, sir. If the board directs, we'll certainly provide the information that you requested.
Thank you.
Any further questions? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yeah, you
Oh,
did it.
yes. I'm sorry. Yes.
Do that one more time, please. Say yes if you're in favor.
Yes.
Yes.
3. Okay. 4. All those opposed?
No.
Four positive, 2 negative. It passes. Thank you. Next is still the executive directors. We're still on.
Sir, subject to any questions you may have.
Okay, we have completed our mission. I'll declare this meeting adjourned.